I recently read that Arrow was about to release a very nice version of a film that I've been curious about for a long time, and I was just about ready to pre-order it. And then I realized I already own this film. Maybe that's happened to you too. My little database app didn't show the film in there, probably because it's part of this box set from Imprint, Essential Film Noir Collection 3. I'll talk about this a little bit more, but for now, this all brings us to today's film. This is the Kazdoy Closet. I'm Kazdoy. That's my closet full of all the stuff that I love. And today, a film noir featuring two legendary actors with a legendary film director, and it's also a home invasion film. Let's check it out. Today's film is The Desperate Hours from 1955, 2 hours long, beautiful black and white. This is about three escaped convicts who go into this Midwestern suburban home, kind of terrorize the family there while they're waiting for one of the convicts' girlfriends to show up with a stash of money. The three cons have distinct personalities. First of all, you have Griffin. He's sort of like the brains and the leader of the group. He's played by Humphrey Bogart. This was Bogart's second to last film before he passed away just 2 years after this film was released. I'm not a huge Bogart fan, probably because I haven't seen that many films of his, to be honest. I do like him in A Lonely Place and The Treasure of the Sierra Madre, and I really liked him in this film as well. Another guy in the band is this guy with the overalls here, and that's Kobish, and he's sort of like the muscle. He's this big guy. He's always has like a smudged face. He's got a unibrow. He's just kind of gross and always sweaty, and just the way he acts. He's like just a big gross guy, like a kind of a big dumb childlike guy in a way, but scary too. And even like when he eats, he wipes his mouth with the tablecloth. But he's played by Robert Middleton, who I'd never heard of before, but really liked him in this film too. He's one of the standouts in the film, actually, because his character is just so weird. But he had over 120 acting credits in TV and film, mostly playing this type of character, a bad guy. The third convict is Hal, and he's the little brother to Humphrey Bogart's character, Griffin. And he's close to the age of the daughter who lives in this house. And he's definitely the most sympathetic character of the three. He's played by Dewey Martin. I kind of recognize his face. He's been, again, in plenty of TV and films. And he's kind of yearning for this normal life. And you get the feeling he was sort of dragged into this con life by his big brother, Griffin. Frederick March plays the father. I'm not familiar with him either, really, that much. I've only seen him in Inherit the Wind, which was a play that I taught in high school, and we watched the film, the version with Frederick March and Spencer Tracy. And I also saw Frederick March in Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. It was directed by William Wyler, who is one of the most esteemed directors ever. He won 3 Best Director Oscars. He was nominated 12 times. His career spanned 45 years in the film business, beginning with silent films. Again, I have not seen that many films of his. He's kind of criticized for not having a very distinctive, what we call auteur look to his films. He's compared to John Ford, who did have a distinctive look and distinctive themes that he repeated, and regular cast members that he used all the time. But the only William Wyler films I've seen are Ben-Hur, the original one, and The Heiress. But this is a very, very well-directed film. As I mentioned earlier, this is one of those home invasion films where you have a middle-class to upper-middle-class home that's being invaded by these either cons or these lowlifes that show up to disrupt the lives of these decent folk. Think of something like Lady in a Cage, which I did an episode on earlier, or in a different, more extreme way, something like Straw Dogs, the Sam Peckinpah film. But as I was watching this, I was thinking, the key to this film is, there's a few keys to the film, but one of the main keys to the film is, are the convicts scary? Because if they're not scary, it's not going to work that well. And now that big guy, Kobish, yeah, he's definitely the scariest one. especially when he's looking at the daughter, because the daughter's about, I'd say in her early 20s, very attractive. She's wearing these tight sweaters all the time. So he's kind of staring at her after he has a few drinks, and he's kind of drooling after her. You definitely get the idea that he would attack her if he's not stopped. Bogart's character is pretty scary, mainly because he's always a step ahead of everybody else. One of his running lines in here is he looks at the dad and he goes, clickety, clickety, click, because he thinks the dad is always thinking, how am I going to outsmart these cons? But Bogart's always right there with him, his character is, and it's a good back and forth between Bogart and Frederick March. Bogart also comes up with nicknames for the family members. He calls the dad Pop, he calls the young daughter the Spitfire, and he calls the son, who's about maybe 8 years old or so, the Brat. The other key, I think, to this film working is the family sympathetic. They're kind of stereotypical, but Frederick March, of course, is the standout as the dad, and he's an interesting character because the little boy is kind of looking up to him like, you're going to save us, Dad? Are you going to do something brave? He's a little, of course, immature and unrealistic about it. Frederick March wants to show his son that he's brave, that he has some authority in this household, but he wants to do it the smart way. This was based on a novel and then on a play, but I didn't really find it that stagey, even though most of it takes place in the house. Not all of it, but I say maybe 75% of it, 80% of it takes place in the house. So it's a little claustrophobic, not so much that you think, oh, this is just a play. And that credit for that, I think, goes to the director, the way he opens it up and the way he shoots everything. The director and Bogart did clash during the film. Bogart knew he had cancer at this time. Like I said, he passed away 2 years afterwards. And William Wyler likes to do a lot of takes, and Bogart just wasn't up to it, so they had a little disagreements there. But the film does cut back and forth between what's going on in the house and the cops trying to figure out where they are, trying to track them down. So that increases the tension. That adds to the film noir quality of it, because you know these convicts are, it's not going to end well for them, because it just usually doesn't. They're doomed. So that adds to the tension of the film. It is kind of weird. There's a little bit of a spoiler maybe, but it is kind of strange because people seem to leave the house. The daughter goes on a date and comes back. The dad goes to his job to get an envelope filled with cash or something, and they let him come back. I mean, they do say, look, if you don't come back, we're going to do something to your family, but still, it's like they're coming and going from this house, and then you have like the mom and the son upstairs by themselves in a room. So who knows what they could be plotting or what they could be doing up there. So I don't think in a modern film, I think they'd be more in the same room together or tied up or something like that. So I thought that was kind of interesting how they kept letting these people come and go or be isolated from everybody else. I also want to mention, as I often do, the music is very understated, very restrained, not melodramatic, which I think is really to the director's credit as well. I'm going to give The Desperate Hours 4.5 houses out of 5. So what's on this disc? Well, like I said, this is an imprint disc. It's part of this box set, Essential Film Noir Collection 3 from Imprint. I don't have the other 2 volumes, which is kind of bad if you want to collect everything completely, right? But I already had those other films. But the films in here include The Turning Point, which I did an episode on before, and The Strange Loves of Martha Ivers, which is supposed to be one of the best film noirs. I've seen it. I need to watch it again. And No Man of Her Own, another Barbara Stanwyck film. I don't know if this box set is still available or not, so you'd have to check that out on your own. But meanwhile, The Desperate Hours has an audio commentary, which I did not listen to. It has a critic discussing the film for about 15 minutes, which was very good. He points out, among other things, that the play version featured Paul Newman as the main convict and Carl Malden as the dad. Very interesting. And the picture quality here, fantastic. A little bit of grain here and there, nothing bad, nothing disturbing, but really like the picture quality a lot. So where can you see The Desperate Hours? You can rent this. You can try your local library since it's a fairly old film. There's the Arrow version coming out in October, which has it looks really nice box, better cover than this one actually. I don't see this version for sale anywhere on Amazon. There is a remake that you can buy with Mickey Rourke, I assume as the convict, the main guy, and Anthony Hopkins, as I assume, as the father. So feel free to leave a comment or a suggestion down below here. I'd like to thank the following people who have left comments since our last episode. They include Tina, Diod, Sam, Sid, Michael, Daryl, and Neil's Movie Channel. Thank you so much for taking the time to comment on here. Leave a thumbs up. Don't leave a thumbs down. Subscribe would be great. Share this with your friends and neighbors. Welcome to our newest subscribers, Daniel and 7X Jones. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Subscribing is free. Also free is check us out on the Letterboxd app under the Kazdoy Closet. There's a link below in the show notes how to get to that. That's where we leave brief written reviews of other films we're watching. Recently posted reviews of Spree, the new Mission Impossible film, and I'm working my way through that giant Zatoichi box. I posted, I think it's called Zatoichi's Flashing Sword, the 7th in that series. So welcome to our new follower on Letterboxd, by the way, Daniel. So hope you like this episode. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time.